Hey everybody, this is Ramon Ray, founder of smarthustle.com, where we inspire and educate small business owners to start and grow successful businesses, because you can grow businesses and them not be successful. We like the successful ones as well. If you're listening to the sound of my voice or watching this video, you know you can go to smarthustle.com for interviews like this, where we try to serve and help you succeed. If you're listening to this on podcast, could you do a favor? And if you think it's like really baller, could you give a 5-star review? If you have to give 4.5 reviews, I guess you could, but we like the 5-star ones, especially this interview with Mickey Fain. I think I'm pronouncing the name right, but we'll know in a minute. Good, I am. I see the nod of his head, and we're going to really help you grow your business. Mickey, thanks for joining us in the Smart Hustle community today. I hope you and whoever is important to you is doing well on this day that we talk. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Good.
Thanks for asking.
You're welcome, Mickey. Where are you based at? Tell me a little bit about where you're based at. And
our headquarters is in Denver. That's where I am, and then we cover most of the U.S.
Of course, yeah. And I have been to Denver. I'm thinking that's one of 3 places on my list to possibly move to. I live in the Northeast, New Jersey. Beautiful state, nothing bad about it. It's just for me, the rents are a lot higher, or mortgages, et cetera. You know, Northeast is a higher standard of living, I think, if that's the word to use. So, you know,
higher cost of living.
Yeah, cost of living, not standard cost.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. So thanks, Mickey. So Mickey, let's dive into it. Tell us a bit about what's the full name of your company, and what problem are you solving, and who are you serving? Talk about the company, and then I'll remind you, want to know a little bit about Mickey, and we'll dive in. But what's the name of the company, and what's the problem you guys are really solving there?
The name of the company is Stoneside Blinds and Shades. And the problem that we're solving is really addressing the needs of what we call the do-it-for-me customer, not the do-it-yourself customer. Somebody that needs new window treatments, blinds, shades, or draperies, doesn't want to go online, buy something, measure it, do it themselves. They want somebody to help them figure out what they need, what their needs are, how it's going to fit in their home, give them recommendations, manufacture the product that's required, come back and install it, clean up after themselves, show them how everything works, and give them a card and say, if you need anything else, give us a call, we'll take care of it. So it really is the customer that's wants a lot of help in the process and appreciates that.
I love that, Mickey. And you've started several companies. You're an experienced businessman, business person. And I actually, while I'm interviewing you, I'm going to shift direction a slight bit. Can you just riff, Mickey? You've done so much in your experience. If you're talking to that small business owner who's a little beyond the road than you are, anything that comes to mind? Like, I'm sure you mentor people, you talk to people, you're on board, you deal with Vistage. So you're a guy who's been there, done that. And I just would love to hear from you. Take as long as you want, 2 hours, 3 hours, or 2 minutes. What is that thing you're like, Ramon? Here's what I'm always saying. Can you just share with us a bit what you're always hearing and small business owners?
Well, if I had to boil it down to one thing, is really get clear on whether, maybe I can think of a couple things. Sure. But first of all is what's the unique niche that you're serving? What are you going to do where that you truly can be best in the world at that? And examples I give sometimes is, if somebody wants to open a pizza restaurant, then you can be best in the world at serving this community with this kind of pizza, with this delivery, or whatever it is. But if you're number 2, you're going to struggle. And so when I say number 1, I don't mean in the world, but for the community that you are serving. If it's a pizza restaurant, it's your local customers, and you better be the best in the world at, if it's deep dish pizza or quick delivery or whatever it happens to be. Figure out where you truly have the opportunity to be best, and go for that. So that's probably number 1. And then number 2, early on, is something we also did, is just get really clear on your why, or your purpose of the company. What's going to get you out of bed and at work every day, beyond, oh my God, I got to pay the bills, or I got to get my kids in college, or whatever, beyond just the money or surviving, but what's going to inspire you and your team to show up every day. And I believe if you really get clear on those 2 things, the money will follow, and you'll have a lot more fun doing it. So those would be, if I had to boil it down to 2 things, and I'm just thinking back through this, get really clear on that purpose. There's a book that I read probably 15 years ago called Start With Why by Simon Sinek.
Yes.
And I'd read a number of books along that lines, but I thought he did a great job. Our founders all read that, and we spent days talking about, who are we? What are we going to be? What's going to get us out of bed every morning and have us excited about doing this? And then again, then the other thing is get really clear on what that niche is. And that came from the best book I read on that was probably Blue Ocean Strategy. And I can't remember the author's name off the top of my head. It's been around a long time, but he talks about don't go out and fight in the red oceans where everybody else is doing exactly the same thing. It's I'll use my pizza analogy. If there's a Domino's pizza next to me and I'm decided I'm going to be a little faster to deliver than they are, boy, that's a tough battle, right? Because they got to own that space. Nobody goes to Domino's, I don't think, because it's the very best pizza.
Be careful now, Mickey. Half of our fans are.
Maybe it is, but for a long time, their whole thing is fast. Jimmy John's is fast. Yeah. So they're really clear on what they're about. And they figured that out early. And then they put all their energy in doing that. So figure out again, where can you be in what the Blue Ocean Strategy, where you're not swimming and fighting with all the other fish and all the other sharks, but you can say, hey, here's an area that we can be best in the world. And I believe get those two things started and it gets you a long way.
I love that so much. And Blue Ocean Strategy, according to the Google, I just Googled it while you were chatting with us, W. Chan Kim and Renee Moborg. I hope it's the same one, Blue Ocean Strategy.
I'm sure it is, yes.
Okay, cool. But no, that's powerful. And just to underline what you said before, I was going to ask you, but I think you already clarified it regarding being best at what you do. What I'm hearing you say, just to repeat it, going to the pizza example, you're not saying you have to have the best pizza. It could be you have a clown or you have entertainment or it's fast or maybe it's the best linoleum. I don't know what, but you're saying something, right. Claim it no matter what it is. Am I hearing you right?
Yeah, yes. Yeah. And figure out that there's a need that's not being served. Like I say, maybe you could be the best deep dish pizza, just to pick something, be right next to Domino's or whatever, if that's not what they provide. And there'll be people that says, no, I want that. And in our particular case, we started 12 years ago, and at the time, lots more businesses were going online. There were businesses that were selling window treatments online. You could go online. The big guys out there was blinds.com. They still are and very successful. And I got clear as, hey, we do not want to just go and compete with those guys. They're already doing a great job. They have good delivery. They had great prices, and they were growing like crazy. So we looked at, what's not being served. And at the time, there was a lot of companies that were doing in-home design consultations, but they weren't using technology to do that. They tended to be thousands of mom and pop shops around the country, weren't using technology, weren't using more sophisticated management techniques, weren't really leveraging the internet. So what we identified is that there was an opportunity to leverage the internet and take advantage of an e-commerce model where we could be centralized in Denver and talk to everybody in the US, but also provide a high touch, which is what all the online players were not doing. They were, click, you measure, we'll give you some videos to show you how to measure, and we'll give you some videos to how to install, and we'll ship a product to you. We imagined that there was in fact, we knew there was a large group of people. Most people were still buying product from the local window treatment guys. But the guys that were growing fast were the internet. So we said, how can we put those two models together and serve a group of people that want a high touch, high quality experience, but can find us through the internet?
Yeah, I love that. And you're speaking to a guy like me and my wife for that matter, because I don't know, I don't want to get into the whole psychology of blinds, but I think to a degree, there's some things, like I mentioned to you about my fancy shirt. By the way, I'm not really showing off my sweater that I just bought, Mickey, but I'm pretty darn proud of the yellow hot pops. I'm just saying, but let me be humble. But the point I'm making is that, there's some people, you're right, who want to buy things and it's done, meaning, and some things go for that. A bottle of water. I don't need to call anybody. I don't need help. I pop the cap, open it. I don't want to talk to anybody. Right, but there's been many things I've ordered online, whether it's, things around me, et cetera, where you're like, I want to order online, but to do more, I want somebody with it. So I think I like that you're going. So let's dive into that, Mickey. I mean, we're here talking to the founder, president, and CEO, and co-founder of Stoneside Blinds and Shades, Mickey Fain. One thing you've talked about already, then, being unique. And I like how you had no fear, as it were, of saying a competitor's name. You're like, you said they're great, and you mentioned them. You're like, God bless them.
Absolutely.
So, and tell me then, why do you find that some people have that fear? A public speaker, I'm not going to mention the other top speakers. I'm not going to mention the other car dealer. Ooh, I won't mention the other phone competitor. Why do they have this in their mind?
Well, I of course, I don't know for sure, but I can imagine that they're not clear on where they fit relative to where the other guys fit. I can't imagine if I'm selling Fords, I shouldn't mind mentioning Maseratis and Jaguars or whatever. Those are two different customers. The guy that's going to buy that Maserati is probably not going to come to my Ford, or I'm not going to be able to, my Ford dealership, I'm not going to be able to serve his needs the way that Maserati, or the guy that comes into my shop, probably not going to want to pay what a Maserati costs, and doesn't care about the fact that it'll go 0 to 100 in 4 seconds or whatever that number is. So you're right. I mentioned blinds.com. They're a competitor. And if somebody's looking for what they provide, they're a better solution than we are. If somebody's looking for what we provide, a great in-home experience. In fact, we are, because we started out with that focus today, we can say we have the highest review ratings of any national window covering company in America. We're rated like a 4.9 out of 5, but we focused on that for the last 12 years. And we said, if we do that and we really become best in the world at that, we won't have to compete with these other guys for our set of customers that we're going after.
Yeah. And I'm curious then, let's talk about that being the best in the business, almost five, I'm going to say it, 5-star review. You talk about
99% are 5-star reviews.
Is the clear purpose, values, and missions. Mickey, you know better than me, but I think I know a little bit. There could be a lot going wrong between when I click a button and get your blinds in my home. I mean, a lot. And it may not be your fault. The packaging could be wrong. Your team could have got the order mixed up. FedEx could have got it wrong. I could have measured wrong, but I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to blame you for it. I mean, there could be 1,000 different things. Maybe I got it. I ordered it. My wife didn't really like it. Who knows? I broke it when I installed it. All the things are going to be blamed on you. So can you, noting that, feel free to reframe the question. How do you maintain such a high rating when you have all these things that could go wrong? And I just talked about after I hit click, not even before I hit click. Maybe the chat bot was down. Maybe the website was slow. Maybe it was out of stock. So you get my point. Talk to us how you're doing.
And that's something we got really, once we got clear on that purpose and we got really clear on our unique value proposition, which was this 5-star experience. When we started in business, our designers / salespeople that worked for us, they were contractors. Our installers were contractors. What we realized pretty quick, if we really were going to take full responsibility for the experience, we had to change that. So we brought all our designers in and they became employees. We hired all our installers. So we could increase our control of that experience. And that's what it was about. We knew that if we were going to try to have a 5-star experience, no matter what, every time, we had to have more control. So we started making decisions based on that value proposition that we set up that we created up front. And you're right, especially today, we have all kinds of problems in the supply chain, as everybody knows. We have challenges with our shippers and our FedEx, and they're having challenge with the drivers. And sometimes we're having to call a customer and say, we're running behind and we're having trouble in one FedEx location right now. They're telling us it's going to take 2 weeks to get it from their facility to our facility, and they're in the same city. And how we deal with that is trying to be really straightforward upfront with the customer and let them know there are these challenges. We don't tell somebody we're going to install it in 2 weeks if we think it could be 8 weeks, right? So I think it's about being upfront, honest, straightforward, owning responsibility, never making excuses, even if it's, well, the FedEx truck turned over and we're going to have to remake your shades. We don't say, well, they did it. We say we had a problem in our shipping. We're going to take care of it. And we do whatever it takes to make the customer happy. And sometimes that means we might lose money on an order because through no direct fault of ours, we had to remake a bunch of shades that, got damaged in shipment or something like that.
Sure. No,
But
for
again,
sure.
all that comes from getting clear on our purpose up front so that we could say, you know what, if we're committed to a 5-star experience, that means every customer, not just, the ones that went well, right?
Right. And Kim, can you give me an example of either what others may not do or do that you all do or don't do, or a story? Is there anything that comes to mind, Ramon? Here's what happened. This was catastrophic. We could have not done it this way, but we decided to. Anything that comes to mind?
Well, I mean, there's, as far as in our business model,
right.
most all of our competitors, maybe all of them that I can think of, let's say most all, okay. When the product is manufactured, it is shipped directly to the customer's home, and then the installer, then they schedule an installation, and the installer shows up later. And there's some efficiencies in that because you don't have to warehouse the product locally and manage that inventory and so on. But again, as we were designing things and thinking about what would a 5-star experience really look like, we said, you know what? Having a bunch of big boxes show up on your driveway, because sometimes these things are big, and it's probably not the best experience. Might be okay for some people, they don't mind carrying it in. For others, elderly woman or something like that, a bunch of boxes on her front porch isn't what she wanted. And so we said, you know what, we're going to go the extra mile and say, let's put it in a warehouse. Let's inventory it. That way, when we get it, we can actually check and make sure nothing was damaged in shipping before we show up at the customer's home. We can make sure everything arrived. We can have our installer go by and pick it up and have it there, take it to the home, and then carry off all the cardboard and all the extra stuff. So there was a clear decision to say, we're willing to spend a little extra money on our business model, right, in order to deliver that. And we believe there will be a subset of customers that are willing to pay for it, in fact, or prefer to pay for it. So there's an example. And again, I'll hesitate to keep going back to the same thing, but maybe it just makes it that much clearer. Get really clear, because if you're really clear, then you'll make those kinds of decisions. You'll decide to, you know what, if we're going to really stick to this mission, we're going to hire our own employees. We're not going to use contractors. We're going to have a warehouse. We're going to deliver everything. And we're going to carry away the cardboard and stuff when we're done, because, the customer doesn't want to deal with that. And that costs us some money, but those are our customers. And so that's what we'll provide.
All right, Mickey, let me push back then. And
okay, great.
I'm going to use Kevin O'Leary. This is Ramon saying Kevin O'Leary is a great guy of Shark Tank. I love him. Those listening, I'm using him as an example because unabashedly, he's the character of I'm the Grinch. So having some fun here. So you're on Shark Tank, Mickey, and Kevin O'Leary is pushing you, Mr. Fain. Do the other model, because you can get 20%, 10%, whatever the percentage is on meaning shipping it right to my house. I'm not a logistics guy, but I get it. That's a extra step. Put it on the customer's back. It's there for a day, a week, whatever. And Becky or Bob, your installer, will come later. So, you don't have angst at night. Like you're in a business to make profit, dude. So I'm having fun here, of course, but right. Why are you not? Why? That's
and I assure you, we had these conversations internally. Okay. Like, what are you thinking? Why would we do that? Why would we hire these people and have to pay benefits and do all that stuff? Why would we not just ship it to their home? Why would we not use a product that might not last as long, but the customer will never see it or whatever? Right.
Or it'll be like everybody else's, right? I expect that this will be crappy and whatever. Like you said, everybody else is doing crap. You can do crap. It's equal. Go ahead.
Well, what I learned early along, I think, is number one thing, you got to be different. If you're not different, the only thing that is left is price. And that means you just got to work harder than everybody else, pay yourself less, or pay your employees less, or do something so that you can be a little cheaper than the other guys, and then you're going to win on price. But if you can't differentiate yourself, the only thing left is price. And that's unless you've got a strategic advantage on price, that you've got a resource that no one else has, a supplier that no one else has. Like Walmart has one of the best logistical systems in the world, the best buying, they buy better than anybody. They actually have a strategic advantage. I don't know if this is true.
They're trying to sell to everybody in the world.
Yes. But and everything they do is to keep that cost as low as possible. I don't know this, what I'm saying is true. Here's what I guess. Target clearly competes with Walmart. Yeah. but they said, you know what, we want to have a little bit different experience.
Yes.
We're going to put a little more money into our stores. We're going to make it feel a little different. It's not one that's better than the other. Some people prefer Walmart. Some people prefer Target.
Sure.
But if Target said, no, we're going to do exactly what Walmart's doing, it's going to look the same, feel the same, everything the same, then the only reason to go to one or the other is who's got the best price. And if Target didn't have a strategic advantage, a way to get that product cheaper, then all they're just going to make less money. So that's the key, is really figuring out that differentiation and sticking to it. Because if we started doing all those things, all of a sudden we look just like the other guys, and all that we've got left is compete on price.
Yeah, I like this. And I'm curious, Mickey, for the smallest of small businesses at Smart Hustle, we have a wide audience, but I'm curious, you ever have those moments where sometimes the question you're going to ask floats out of your head? I almost had one of the moments, but I think I grabbed it back in my head. For those very small businesses where we want to hang our hat on the one or two things, that means you have to say no to something else. Any guidance how to do that? Meaning, what I'm trying to get to, use your business, but then teach us other people as well. You know, there's something you can say, we're the best quality. This doesn't mean we're going to get it to you the fastest. Not that you're saying that.
Right.
But there is a point. What if though you're like, dang, we may need to get it faster. Guide small business owners who are saying, we do the best cheesecake, the best, but we have long lines. What's your advice to us? How do we, that constant ebb and flow of which one to pick?
Well, I'm going to go back to my book source here, Blue Ocean Strategy. Yeah. I remember in reading the book, they talked about, look at all the different facets of your business, and how quick do we deliver, what the price is, maybe what colors it comes in, right. Is it more secure or less secure, whatever it might be, and kind of map out where are all your competitors. Hey, these guys are great at fast delivery. These guys are great at price. Guys are great at desserts with the pizza, who knows, or whatever it is, and look at what's missing, and say, you know what, we could be the best in the world in this niche, right? And then and you got to believe that, and say, and now what do we need to charge for it in order to be best in the world in that niche? And you start testing and seeing if people will pay for it, but you got to charge enough to where you can make money and you can pay for all of these things. And what I believe is that if you think through this correctly, there are niches available that people will pay for. Right. It's like in Denver, I can go to a restaurant and get a cheeseburger and it could be $18. Yeah. Absolutely. John Elway, the quarterback of the Broncos, has got a restaurant, and his burger is something like that. Yeah. I can also go and get a burger at Red Robin. Mm-hmm. That's not all that much different, and it's about a third of the price. Yeah. But I have to get a reservation a week in advance to go to John's place. That's right? So that means there are people at this price point. There are people at this price point, and there's also the McDonald's. McDonald's sells fast service, the same thing. It's a burger, and you can get it for, I don't know, a couple bucks or something. So here's a product from $2 to $18. And it's just a whole different thing. Somebody wants a experience, somebody wants fast food, and then there's Red Robin in the middle. So it's back to get clear on who you are, who you're serving, and then you got to and believe that there are, and make sure that there's a price point that they're willing to pay for that. We found that there are people that are happy to pay for what it costs for us to send somebody in their home, help them with the solution, make sure it's right, make sure they're going to have a great experience, and they don't have to take off work 6 times to meet us or learn how to use a drill or put all these things in. They're willing to pay for that. Just like people at Elway's want a nice dining experience, a waiter that comes over, ask them if they like anything else. So when they get their cheeseburger, they're happy to pay the 15, 18, whatever it is.
And as I learned from Seth Godin, with Elway's, the bragging rights. Let's not forget that, the emotional credit of saying, I ate it at an Elway's store or a restaurant. Right. So that's, right. But you're right, Mickey. It's funny how this translates, this aspect of knowing your value and what you're worth and what you're charging, what your unique selling point is, across everything. Me as a professional speaker, it's taking me a while. And if I talk too long about it, it's so emotional, I'll cry about it. But there was a point where I would put my head down like, dang.
Maybe I need to start asking you questions, right?
Right? There's a point where I would put my head down metaphorically and be like, dang, I'm not as smart as this person or that person. Or they did the long tech talk with the British accent. 37 ways that we can feed children in the Antarctica. I'm like, wow. But I realized my gift, I've honed in on. I mean, I've known it, but over the last year or two, possibly with COVID, I'm an entertainer, meaning I do more than that. But the one thing I do for very large tech brands, if you have a boring product, you want Ramon to talk about it. That's it. Meaning, right. So, and it's funny how it's a smaller market, but guess who's knocking on my door? All the large SaaS companies with boring tech. They're like, Ramon, can you host our event? Because our sales team is, hi, we have fast broadband over a back-end database. They can't afford to have that. So anyhow, to your point, it's
get clear on what you provide. And I think you said something that's really important is you don't know you have a strategy until you start saying no to stuff. Yeah. If you're saying yes to everything, you don't have a strategy. You're just grabbing for anything you got. And an example of that happened with us is early on when we first started, we'd allow people to go to our website and buy it and install it themselves. And what we realized is, and that was probably a third or more of our sales at that time. And fairly early in the company, we said, we're going to shut that part down. My management team, our board said, are you crazy? That's a third of our sales. What are we going to do? But what was clear to me is if we really are committed to delivering that experience that we're talking about, making sure it always goes well, for the points that you brought up earlier, we got to control it. And if we're just putting it online and you measure it, you install it, we're going to have unhappy people. They're going to believe that it was our fault. Sure. And to some degree it is if we hadn't made it easy enough to do or whatever.
And because I'm not an expert, even right now I'm thinking, do I measure the wood inside the wood or outside where the thingamajiggy, the molding? I don't even know what to call the thingamajiggy.
There's a lot of complexity. Some windows are easy, some are not. That's what, we decided, let's focus on that. But the point is we had to say no to a third of our revenue. And in fact, we even still have board members and they still say, but Mickey, there's, tens of millions of dollars, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars on this do it yourself. And it's the same product. Why aren't we doing that? And I keep saying, no, that's not what we do. There are hundreds of millions of dollars spent in the do-it-yourself window covering market every day. And so far, we keep saying, no, that's not who we are. That's not what we do. And so that's being willing to stick to your guns and say no. That's when you know you have a strategy.
I love it. I love it. And two more questions I have for you, Mickey, and this has been a great discussion. One, talk about hard times. Just what have you done? If you can share the detail or metaphorically, things you've gone through that have been rough and tough, and what lessons we can learn. When do we give up? How did you plow through it? Was it mindset? And I'm sure it's not just you, you're a larger company, but mindset. And one gentleman told me actually you guys should do biz dev. Lovesack. You may know them. I talked to Lovesack founder, and he's told me, which is interesting, Ramon, it's about the runway. He said, meaning luck and money and all that, but I just had a longer runway. He said, meaning if I had shorter amount of money, I may be out of business. So question one is just going through hard times. And then two, do you telegraph 5-star great customer service? Is that part of what you use into the marketing? So question one, talk about hard times and what you did and what we can learn from the hard times.
We've absolutely had hard times. There were times that our management team didn't get paid. We years ago, getting started, we had to do a layoff like a week before Christmas. Just because things didn't materialize, and we, can't pay people, we can't keep them, and so on. And part of that is to lengthen that runway to make sure we don't just hit a brick wall. Right. But there were lots of times where no one would have said, I can't believe you're quitting, or you shouldn't. In fact, people were saying, I think it's time to fold up the tent. We were in a board meeting one time where investors, co-founders said, sure. Maybe, I think we should stop, and said, No, we're not stopping. And I've thought a little bit about that, saying never give up. What I believe about that, there may be times that you need to do some pivot, like to say, my guess is, just talking to you a little bit here, Raymond, you probably have pivoted a little bit as you figured out, here's my strength. Don't try to compete with this guy. That's not where my strength is, right? So figuring out, and that we've had some pivots along the way, like, okay, let's stop selling direct to consumers. I mean, for the do-it-yourself marketplace, we'll sell direct to consumers, but only through the do-it-for-me marketplace. So, boy, there were probably 10 times in our history where if we could have thrown in the towel and nobody would have said, you didn't try. In fact, more often than not, they're saying, I can't believe the tenacity of those guys, that they just keep going. And now it's really turned, it's a lot easier these days as a result.
And now you're talking to Ramon Ray. You've done so well. You're even upped your game to be able to talk to Smart Hustle. I mean,
Ramon is willing to talk to me. Can you believe it?
This is great. And then Mickey, last question, talk about how we business owners should be telegraphing what that unique selling point is. I'm guessing it makes no good if Domino didn't say that's all they do, right? Everything they do, they touch is speed. Rarely, I mean, it's tasty or not, whatever it is.
Right. And over the years, they've watered that down some, but for a long time, that was the whole deal. And that got them from, 0 to a billion. So not bad.
That'll work for me.
I do, go back to that, get really clear on what that unique selling proposition, the thing that's going to allow you to be the best in the world. And we started talking about it pretty soon, not pretty early in the process. Got committed to it. And at first you don't have a lot of evidence for it. You got to start doing it so you can actually demonstrate it. Fortunately for ours, we got clear that our reviews was a good way to do that. Pretty quick, we could see that we were getting great reviews and that they were better. And so we started talking about that. If you go to our website today, it talks about it on the website, #1 in the world based on customer reviews. And then more recently, we've had even third parties, Better Homes and Gardens, came across us and saw, hey, these guys are the best overall window covering company in America. Well, that was pretty cool, but it just took 12 years, right? but again, it's just getting clear on that purpose, sticking to it, continuing to monitor and say, are we actually separating ourselves? If Domino's really wasn't delivering fast, they couldn't have done that, right? They had to actually deliver fast and show it and back it up. I think they had something, if it's not within X 2 minutes, it's free or something like that. So they really put their money where their mouth was and then use that in their advertising. I believe you can't give people a list of 6 things that make you great. You got to get it down to 1 or 2, or they won't remember the difference. Like you said, you're an entertainer, right?
Yes.
You got clear on that, right?
And clearly, I have extensions to it. We have podcasts. I'm doing it now. We do interviews. But as far as at least 1 quarter or one, just talking about, for those listening, the Smart Hustle business model, which I'm very open about, it's part 1 quarter of it, give or take, or 1/3 is Ramon. And so I've had to, over the years, be clear, me just saying I'm a speaker. Everybody, I have books here. Everybody can speak about how to use Twitter. That's a dime a dozen. Everybody can speak about Facebook marketing. That's old news. But to your point, I had to think, okay, I can speak about anything that anybody else can, but what does Ramon do best?
Right.
Entertainment to large tech brands that have boring content, boring products. That's me.
That are looking for you to sex it up for them.
That's right. But Mickey, anything I didn't ask you, anything you're like, oh, I wish I could have told the Smart Hustle audience this, feel free. Anything else that you wanted to share that I didn't touch on?
Boy, I'm sure I'll think of some stuff later today, but I think you've done a great job of getting down to the essence of what's made us successful and what we believe will continue to make us successful.
Appreciate that.
It's been a real privilege for me to be on your program.
Oh, thank you. If you think of it, you can just say, Ramon, wait, let's keep the recording. Let's recording again. But everybody, this has been Mickey Fain, who's president and CEO of Stoneside Blinds and Shades. Obviously, if you're looking to spruce up your home or office, check them out. You never know. Tell them you heard them on Smart Hustle. Maybe they'll give you they'll add 100% to your bill just because you said that. But I'm just joking. Let me get serious here. Stoneside Blinds and Shades, co-founder, president, and CEO, Mickey Fain, has been with us today on the Smart Hustle podcast. If you're hearing the sound of my voice or watching this interview, definitely, we'd love, you've heard us mention 5-star a few times. Well, guess what? We love a 5-star review too on iTunes or other platforms. And you can check out interviews like this at smarthustle.com. And once again, it's been the amazing, the great Mickey Fain president of Stoneside Blinds and Shades, being with us today. Mickey, thanks so much. Appreciate your time.